Welcome, class of 2024, to the Office of Student Engagement's Virtual Students Activities Fair. We're really excited to be with all of you and have you here, even if it's through the internet. Even that's just because, even though it's no longer possible for us to welcome you to campus, we want to provide with you some essence of campus life. Just attempt to try to get across some of the stuff that we really think is important to know about. Just a little bit about us. The Office of Student Engagement is a hub for student involvement on campus, and we support around 600 student organizations in a wide variety of categories. Today is our last session where we focus on social awareness and political groups, so I'm sorry if you've heard this spiel before. You can view recordings of the other sessions on admit.stanford.edu, though, if you haven't listened to them or been on them already. My name is Grant Halley, and I'm a peer advisor at the Office of Student Engagement. I'm a co-terminal master's student in the history department, which means that I did my bachelor's degree and then did an additional year for my master's, and I'll be hosting today's session. The format will include two parts. This will be familiar to you if you've been on any of the earlier ones. First, we'll have a panel of students who are leaders from various groups that do social awareness and political type stuff and activities. And then they will talk just in general about these types of groups. Then afterwards, we'll have both a preset and open Q&A. So you can submit questions through the Q&A on Zoom, and also we have some questions ready to go. That'll be followed by breakout sessions to meet individual orgs that you're further interested in, including other groups that aren't represented on the panel. We will send out a Google Doc that includes organization names and Zoom links to meet members, and you can visit as many as you want. So now I'm going to introduce our wonderful panelists. We have Sasank Munkutla. Sorry, did I mispronounce your name?
It's Sasank Munkutla. You're good.
Munkutla, there you go. Sorry, they're the vice president of CS Plus Social Good. We have Jillian Rogers. They're the co-president of Stanford Planned Parenthood. Sorry. We have Natasha Muji. They're the president of Stanford and Government. Kuhan J.S. Paragasan. They're the president of Stanford Effective Altruism. Irfan Rostami. They're the vice president of Stanford Curtis Association for Justice. And Sarah Goodman of Stanford Women in Politics. And you guys can also just kind of go around and in that order. Sasank, if you want to start, and then we'll go through and you can do your intros.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Grant. My name is Sasank. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a sophomore, and I'm the vice president of CS Plus Social Good. Our organization focuses on encouraging and empowering students at Stanford to use technology for social impact. We do that through a variety of our events. We have classes, we have programs, we have events. And yeah, we're very excited to see how tech and social impact can come together at Stanford.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sasank. We're already running out of time. So I hope the other people don't mind. If you don't get to do intros, we can just go through and you can try to incorporate some of the intros into the answers for some questions. So the first question I'll give goes to Natasha and Sarah about what does the political scene look like at Stanford? Are there a variety of views? What is the discourse like?
Yeah, maybe Natasha, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I can start. So Stanford and Government, just for a little background, is one of the largest organizations on Stanford's campus. It's a nonpartisan organization, and that's been central to our mission since we were founded in the 1960s. And so I think just the fact that there's such a large organization that's committed to nonpartisanship and elevating a variety of views, whether that's through the summer fellowships that we offer, the events that we put on, or different debates that we host, it definitely speaks to the fact that there are a variety of views and there are a lot of groups that are committed to promoting political discourse.
Yeah, that's great. Hi, Stanford Women in Politics, she, her pronouns. And I think that Stanford's a really interesting place because you can kind of find what you want in terms of discourse. So, like, there are definitely places on campus where people don't engage as much explicitly with politics, but also there's a lot of spaces on campus where people approach politics and social activism and engagement through their own perspectives, and there's always a space for them. So whether people are interested in tech Like there's both tech policy, ethics for tech, CS plus social good, or they're interested in social activism around women's reproductive health or workers' rights. There's specific groups dedicated to that. And there's this like larger conversation where these groups both engage with each other and also kind of double down within them. So I think that kind of the size of Stanford and the really varied nature of the interests of the student body mean that like there's something for everyone, and also there's a really dynamic campus conversation going on. What that means for Stanford Women in Politics is a lot of great partners for our events, and a lot of variety in terms of like we work to empower our membership and then collaborate with other groups to uplift the like messages and social causes that are really important. But really every group, it kind of approaches it in their own way, and it's really great.
Thanks. And people feel free to use the Q&A or the chat to put in some questions. That'll be great. So next, what does advocacy for social awareness organizations look like on and off campus? And I think Sarah and Sasank, you'd be good for answering this one.
Maybe I'll just start this one off. I think that advocacy is a really strong part of Stanford's campus. There are really dedicated groups that have built a lot of power advocating for their issues. I don't want to catch Jillian off guard or anything, but I would love to like pull you in to say a quick thing about that. But I've personally also been involved in a lot of workers' rights activism, and the amount of organizing and collaboration within those spheres has been really incredible, and also centering the communities that we're working with as opposed to like our own narratives has been a really, I think, beautiful part of the Stanford activist community. But Jillian, do you want to like say a quick thing?
Yeah, thanks. Hi, I'm Jill. I'm co-president of Stanford Planned Parenthood Generation Action, and we are a reproductive and sexual health advocacy and education group. So we work really hard to raise awareness on campus about reproductive rights and access to reproductive health care. And some of the ways we found to do that really effectively are doing things that are very involved in the center of campus and involve kind of everyone who's passing by on their way to class. So we'll do a lot of events in White Plaza, which is right at the center of campus life, and just kind of talk to people as they go through and like come to and from classes to see what they know about certain topics and to take the chance to educate people. And then we've also worked in the past, we've had a lot of fun working with the med and law student groups to put on kind of inter-school events that work to raise awareness about current issues in reproductive rights and women's healthcare and other issues that relate to that. And those are some of the ways we found to engage with advocacy, and mainly through educating the community and then raising awareness about the issues that we care about.
Yep. And to add on to that, I know this is true for a lot of organizations, including CSP Social Good, focusing on advocacy off campus as well. A lot of our organizations are partnered with nonprofits in the country as well as around the world. For example, in CSP Social Good, we run a class where you are partnered with a nonprofit to work on a tech project with them for 6 months. Nonprofits like the UN Refugee Agency, Khan Academy, for example. And I think this is true for a lot of our organizations. A lot of our organizations are part of national alliances with other organizations. Just to give an example, CS for Social Good is part of TechShift, which is an international association of tech for good organizations. And I know that's true for a lot of other organizations on campus. So I think that's one of the really exciting parts about the student clubs at Stanford, both with the partnerships they have with nonprofits off campus, as well as the national and international alliances that they're part of, where you get a really cool, strong community and a really good chance to do a lot of impactful work.
Thanks, Sasank. Also, maybe this one also you can help out with. How do your organizations collaborate and work with each other? And if anyone else has a good answer for that, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, sure. I can just get started on that one. A lot of our organizations, as you're hearing, have similar missions or causes that have a lot of overlap. So we often work together. Just to give some examples, for example, like last year, CS for Social Good organized an event on oppressive technology. So really looking at organizations like Palantir, for example, and how that space can be improved. And we organized this in collaboration with SLAP, which is an organization, Students for the Liberation of All People. And I know that's true for a lot of organizations where we work together. I know SIG, for example, has summer fellowships. CS for Social Good has a similar program where we collaborate with other organizations on campus to create summer fellowship opportunities where you can be placed at a nonprofit to do meaningful impact work over summer. So I think that's one of the really exciting parts when our different organizations on campus come together to work on events or programs that we have that have overlapping interests as well as overlapping viewpoints. And I think that's one of the most exciting parts about the club situation at Stanford.
Yeah, I would love to just jump in there and echo everything that was just said. I think all the organizations on this panel and that you guys are going to hear from have a lot of unique things to offer, but when they're the most powerful when they come together to put on events and bring their members together who have different interests and like give them a space to sort of express those different interests and to collaborate in ways that they wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. So I know that we work with CS plus Social Good. We also have worked with Stanford Women in Politics many times before, and Stanford in Government is associated with the Haas Center for Public Service on campus. And so we've been involved with a lot of the other like organizations that are part of the Haas Center. And so just because you're in one group doesn't mean that you don't engage with people from other groups or get to go to different events. That's probably one of the best parts about being in a student organization.
Thank you so much. That was a good answer. I have another one. Maybe Kuhan or Irfan, you could jump onto this one about how organizations build community for members.
Yeah.
Okay, go on, go ahead.
Sure. Hi, I'm Kuhan, they, them, or he, him pronouns. So yeah, just a brief intro about our group. So effective altruism is a social movement and philosophy that asks the question, how can we combine our desire to improve the world with evidence and reasoning to have the biggest impact possible? And since we spend around 80,000 hours of our lives working, figuring out how we can have the biggest impact with our careers is a primary focus of both effective altruism and Stanford EA. So we try to help students learn more about what these highest impact issues are and find careers that they're passionate about to address these high impact issues. And we do this through like one-on-one mentorship, career workshops, we run a fellowship and other activities. So I think in terms of building community with like-minded individuals who really have this desire to improve our world in whichever way possible, getting involved with whichever group I think is a really great way to meet people who share your values and you know, who also prioritize improving our world through whichever means.
Move on to another question, but just a quick thought I had is the way I normally frame it is many groups are externally facing, so they're trying to reach out to campus and bring them into their specific political issue or their specific like or just politics in general, stuff like that. And some are internally focused, so it's like once you join, they're trying to engage you more and create different opportunities for you and have different discussions and build a community within the group, but you're not necessarily as worried about like, you know, making other students do certain things. It's more about like empowering you around that certain interest area within the group. And obviously there's, you know, a spectrum and you'll be involved in other actions too, but that's kind of a difference that I've seen between different political groups on campus.
Thank you for that. So now we've gotten through the kind of preset questions. I'm going to send out the link for so you people, provosts can start perusing the kind of the groups that are going to have their their own kind of drop-in sessions, and then I'm going to go forward with the open Q&A So we're going to get to some of the questions people have sent in, and there's some good questions in the chat or the Q&A section. So we'll get to those now. Okay. One question we got was, what are some unique opportunities that Stanford offers in terms of guest speakers, activism-based internships, etc.? And I think this kind of also goes with another question about what is one experience or event that really defined your undergraduate experience? So what are some of the opportunities and things that you've done in political and social activism-based groups that have really enriched your Stanford experience, or opportunities that you got? If anyone has a good answer to that, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so I think one of the coolest opportunities for me, and I think Stanford EA members, has been trying to apply our education and what we're learning to these problems that we're trying to address. So I think with the whole coronavirus pandemic that's happening now, people are starting to think more about pandemic preparedness and global scale catastrophic risks. So we're working with CSAC, which is the Center for International Security and Cooperation, to come up with a global catastrophic risks initiative for students who are interested in working on issues like pandemic preparedness, extreme climate change, and other issues that are on a more global level, to do work on them over the summer. So yeah, I think academic, like research internships that are focused on really pressing issues has been one really cool aspect of being able to be involved in a student group at an academic institution like Stanford.
Yeah, one thing that I think is great in terms of reinforcing and empowering our members, but also other groups, how they empower their members, is through mentorship connections. That's one thing that we've really emphasized. We're kind of community focused. So for the people within the group, we really try to empower them and give them more information and more tools for what they're passionate about. So connecting them to mentors and faculty that are in their issue areas, and then those faculty maybe are doing research on the things that they care about, is something that is really great.
Great. Thank you. We also got some questions about if there are kind of how do you bring in kind of issues around community service or issues around policy to the kinds of things you do as your group. So you discuss questions of policy or community service type issues. If anyone has a good answer for that.
I'd love to start off with that one, especially because it speaks really directly to Stanford and government's mission. Our mission is to sort of promote policy as public service. And I think that through our internships and through the speakers that we bring to campus, that's something that we really try to keep in mind and to embody. In terms of like direct community service, I know that there are both advocacy groups and other student organizations that are focused on direct service. And so not through SIG, but I personally have been able to volunteer at a women's shelter in Palo Alto during my sophomore and junior year, through Stanford Housing Justice, which is an advocacy organization. Other clubs also offer those direct community service opportunities. And so I'd say that there are a lot of different ways to explore service, whether that's through the policy internships or through the direct volunteering in and around the Bay Area. And the Haas Center for Public Service is a really great way to sort of figure out what those resources are and how you can get access to what you're most interested in.
Cool. Well, no one's here, huh? I guess we can. What if we just like have our own discussion until people come?
I'm really confused about how this works.
Sorry about that. I don't. Yeah. Does anyone have any information about? Someone wanted to know about internships or kind of opportunities to get direct experience that you might be able to get through a student organization. That might also be a good one for SIG.
Yeah.
Again,
Oh,
go ahead.
or Sasan.
I can start off and then you can follow up if I miss anything. But just speaking specifically about Stanford and government, every summer we offer over 60 fully funded fellowships and stipends. And the fellowships are placements that SIG already has. And so that's with organizations like the UNHCR or the Attorney General of California, or there are some that are directly related to CS and engineering, like Defense Digital Service, I think is the name of it. Or in the Department of Defense, there are ones that are specifically engineering related. So we have those preset fellowships that you apply to Stanford and government for an interview with us and then get placed at. Or if you're able to find your own internship related to engineering, CS for social good, public service, so long as it's policy related, SIG is able to fund a lot of those every summer. So that's one great way to get direct experience with public service work.
Yep. Just to add to that, yeah, the Cardinal Quarter is the main program that it's called, and it's run by the Haas Center and a variety of organizations, including SIG, CS for Social Good. We run fellowships through the support of the Haas Center, and that program gives you a stipend to work at one of our partner organizations or also an organization of your own choosing. So that definitely is one great area in which you can be involved with public service, social impact work over the summer. A lot of our clubs also run other events as well as classes where you can get involved with this type of work. CS for Social Good, for example, runs a class called Studio, where for 6 months you're paired with a nonprofit, and that's a great way for you to do tech work in the social impact space. So I think on the whole, I think aside from just summer programs and internships, which you can get through Cardinal Quarter, there are a variety of classes and programs that go out throughout the year. And sometimes you can even do a fellowship during the year as well. So very cool opportunities that you can take advantage of. And we're very lucky to have our Haas Center supporting students so well.
Well, thank you, everyone. Now I think it's time we're going to move to allowing people to jump on to the breakout sessions. Feel free to keep sending in questions. I and also our panelists, if they want to, will still be able to answer them, or we'll get around to them. Yeah, but if you have any questions, send them in. And you can also just jump on to one of the sessions. Again, that link is in the chat. So it's bit.ly/soc-pol20. Perfect. There it is again. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to our panelists. Sorry we ran out of time for intros at the beginning, but you guys did a good job answering the questions, are you folks?
Background in order to be involved in public service or any type of political group on campus. Like, we are here to support you and bring you in, and there's absolutely no prior experience required. Like, even for things that would need applications, like joining leadership, you just have to like care about the world and care about maybe that issue area a little bit, but no experience, like no background. You just have to be interested.
Yeah, we also have some questions about Stanford and government in particular. I don't know if you want to answer those right now, or if you want to type the answer.
Yeah, we're not listed on the other list because that's my fault for not registering in time. And so I'm happy to answer specific questions here if that's okay with other people. In terms of what we usually do during the year, we meet on a weekly basis, and at our general meetings, we have like 30 minutes devoted to spending time together as a whole group, during which we have policy discussions or have an outside speaker come in or play trivia or something like that. And then we have the second half of the meeting dedicated into breakout groups. And so there are 5 different branches of Stanford and government: programming, fellowships and stipends, communications, operations, and then next year it's going to be civic engagement. And so you work within one of those specific branches when you want to join the club, and you like just get to decide basically which group you want to be a part of. And each group has separate responsibilities for fellowships and stipends. That's planning that's helping organize the summer fellowships and doing the interviews and application readings. And then for programming, that's like all of the different events that we put on. So yeah, definitely a lot of different things to do within the broad umbrella of Stanford and government. And yeah, the sort of work that you end up doing varies depending on which part of the club you're in.
Kuhan, do you have any kind of specific knowledge about, or Sasank maybe also after, about the Haas Center in Public Service?
Yeah, I actually did a Haas Center fellowship for 2 of my summers. The Haas Center has a bunch of different fellowship programs, which are really great. I know they do some in collaboration with student groups like CS for Social Good and SIG, and also have like specific internships that they've set up with existing partners, and internships where you can pick a partner yourself and get funding to work for them. So for example, since I was really interested in global development work, I did an internship in Northern India one summer and established a partnership myself, and then the Haas Center provided funding. So the Haas Center is a really great resource. They also have advisors who are there to help you figure out either how you can, pick courses that align with your interests, or find opportunities, be they like community service opportunities, volunteering, getting involved with student groups. So yeah, I think the Haas Center has been really helpful to Stanford EA. They also provide room for meetings. They have a really nice room. The Haas Center is really well located on campus. So yeah, highly endorse the Haas Center.
I know this isn't a specific answer to a question,
Yeah,
but
go
I
for it.
have to go to our breakout room. I just want to emphasize that SWIP would be really, really interested in talking to any of you who just care about the world and care about your space in it and your impact. SWIP is really community focused, so whatever we're doing for and with our members, and we really are just enriched by every single voice that we have in that space. So even if you're just a little bit interested, come check us out. I gotta go, but thank you all so much for coming and being interested in politics.
Yeah, I actually have to go to Stanford EA. So if you're interested in learning more about effective altruism or how you can do the most good with your career, check out our individual room, and hopefully see you there. Thanks to all the other panelists. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, as well. I'm going to head off to my group's individual session as well. It was fun doing the panel together, and I'm glad we all have similar missions.
I can answer any other questions if you need me to.
This can be the SIG room.
Yeah.
Natasha, do you want to weigh in on a question about if there's any tension between groups or?
Oh yeah. No, I definitely don't think that there's tension between groups in terms of like those groups with different political views. Obviously, people butt heads sometimes when they have differing opinions, but even if groups have totally different missions or points of views, we've still seen a lot of instances where they try to come together to promote discourse. And so you'll see people going to events with speakers who they don't necessarily agree with, and definitely trying to be intellectually engaged. And also, just speaking from SIG's perspective, we really try to have debates and panels that represent a variety of viewpoints, and try to get even just our general members to engage with viewpoints that they might not necessarily come across otherwise. And so I think it requires having an open mind, but even if there's a little bit of tension, it's overcome easily because we all are really interested and passionate individuals.
And then we also have a question about fellowship applications specifically.
I think that there are a lot of great resources on campus, either through the Haas Center or through BEAM, which is the Career Education Center, in terms of helping you prepare your resume, prepare your applications. Also, I know just when you're writing essays for anything, whether that's for a class or for an application, you can go to the Hume Center for writing and you can get someone to help you edit your stuff. And specifically for Stanford and Government, we have sort of workshops for leading up to the due date for the fellowship applications. And so there are a lot of different resources on campus. It's just a matter of being aware of them and making sure you're taking advantage of them, especially when you're a freshman or a sophomore who might not have as much experience on your resume and so might not come across as qualified as an upperclassman who's applying for a fellowship opportunity. I think those are the instances in which it really pays off to take advantage of the resources on campus before applying.
Thank you. That was a good answer. Very detailed.
Thanks.
I know we've also already talked about community service a little bit, but there was a question, I know SIG. Oh, what is the typical time commitment for SIG? That's a very specific.
Oh, that's a good question. I think the time commitment honestly can be anything that you want it to be. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but I promise it's not. So of course you have people in the senior leadership, like I'm the chair, and then we have 5 vice chairs who are in charge of each of the different branches who spend a lot of time on the club, like that's their primary activity. Then you have people who are involved in the board of directors who are still in leadership positions, but this maybe isn't their main focus on campus. They're just looking to take on more responsibility in the club, but they're not running a very large part of the organization. Then we have our general members. I think at the start of every year, we have like 100 general members, and general members sometimes just come to a few of our events, a few of our meetings, and don't show up regularly, or they're there every week and they're really involved in putting on events and taking ownership of some small aspect of the club. And so I personally spend many hours a week on SIG, but that's not the typical time commitment, and it's definitely whatever you want it to be.
Yes, that's a good one as well. Thank you. Do you happen to have any knowledge about people who are interested in law?
So I am a poli-sci and econ. I'm majoring in poli-sci and econ, and for the first 2 years of college, I was really interested in law school, and so I can try to speak to that question if you want me to.
Yeah, the question was about how being involved in like a student organization like SIG would enrich the perspective of someone who's interested in law and their experience at Stanford.
Definitely. So I think being in a club like SIG helps multiple different kinds of people. For someone who has no experience with public service or policy, it would be a great introduction to that field. But for someone who already knows that they're passionate about policy, maybe wants to go to law school and wants to major in poli-sci as an undergrad, I think that SIG still has a lot to offer. And I think one of the biggest things I've gotten out of being in a club like SIG is just meeting upperclassmen who have similar interests to me, but are just farther along in their educational career than I am. And so I've gotten great class recommendations. I've gotten advice on doing on-campus research and figuring out how to get access to those opportunities. I've gotten advice about going abroad or summer internships. And I've just really found a lot of mentors and friends through my involvement in SIG. I also think that just the different speakers that SIG brings to campus can really enrich your experience, and you might meet someone who served in a branch of government that you're interested in, or makes clear to you a path into government work that you didn't think was available otherwise. And one example I can give is I know a lot of people who are interested in development economics and development policy, and SIG has like summer fellowships at the World Bank, or bring speakers related to development. And that's just a way to get more insight into the areas you're interested in.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing the information about SIG.
No worries.
I guess, yeah, we can move back more towards the community service question.
Yeah.
SIG works closely with Haas, and the question is about How do political groups at Stanford work with community service groups, I'm assuming in the community, to impact the community while also bringing awareness to their respective causes?
Definitely. So I can speak to this one from my involvement in Stanford Housing Justice.
Perfect.
And so Stanford Housing Justice is a club that focuses on both things, advocacy and also direct community service. And I know when I was involved at our weekly meetings, we would have discussions about different policies that were important in the Bay Area in terms of affordable housing and dealing with the homelessness crisis. We had different outside speakers come in, not only for our members, but also for the broader Stanford community. But then the club also does a lot of direct community service with local organizations. And so like I mentioned earlier, partnering with the Heart in the Home shelter in Palo Alto to volunteer with like local homeless women, or putting on dinners on Stanford's campus through the dining halls and using extra donated swipes to have meals on Stanford's campus. And also the club does regular outreach walks in San Francisco and delivers like different care packages to homeless individuals. So that's a club that really marries the advocacy aspect and the policy focus with direct community service. And in order to do that direct community service, partners with local organizations.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Natasha, for all the expertise you've shared. It's been really helpful, I think, or I hope it's really helpful for profros who are
Yeah,
here.
I hope so too.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we're going to wrap up this segment. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I don't have anything else to say.
Well, great. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for your participation and for being here for Profros and being interested in trying to find out more about Stanford.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.